Hello and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'm Gia. I am the host of this channel and I do loads of different things. Anyway, today's topic is I'm going to be sharing my suicide attempts with you. Now, before I get into this video, if you're sensitive to the topic, if you are unable to sit through somebody talking about suicide, if you're uncomfortable with it, if you've recently experienced somebody in your family or friends or peers experience through it and it's very raw and you're unable to sit through this video, please don't watch this video. The reason I am making this video is to bring light to suicide awareness, is to help somebody that's maybe feeling suicidal. There is a lot of people that are going through life and they feel suicidal more than they let on. You know, they just go through life and a lot of the times they want to end it all because they don't know how to make life better. And so my purpose of making this video is to maybe even help one person that's feeling suicidal. Okay, with that being said, I'm gonna get Teddy, my emotional support bear, and we are going to get into the video. So I came to the country as a 7-year-old, well 6-year-old. I was going to be 7 in 2 weeks. I came to get medical treatment on this. It was TB. The plan was to go back after a year to Pakistan. So I came with my dad. So my mom, my siblings were all in Pakistan. So here I was with my dad. Anyway, the plan did not go according to plan. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So we couldn't go back after a year. We ended up staying for the rest of our lives actually. But then after about 14 years of being here is when we got our indefinite leave to remain, and that's when we could go back to Pakistan to see our mum. But in those 14 years, the things that caused me to have depression and that led me to attempt suicide 3 times were growing up without my mum. That was a huge trauma in itself. Being unstable, being uprooted, going to multiple schools, being homeless, seeing my dad having mental health problems, being homeless, I think I mentioned that. Just a lot of instability, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. Just the environment that I grew up in, it just wasn't healthy and it wasn't nurturing and it wasn't loving, and that caused me to have depression. So the first time when I attempted suicide was, we were living in a government provided accommodation. This is before we had our indefinite leave to remain, and at that time it was a very uncertain time because we weren't sure if the police were going to come and evict us and send us back to Pakistan, or if we were going to get our indefinite leave to remain. So at that time I was doing my GCSEs. I'd already had disassociation I had disassociation on and off, but I didn't know what it was. I had it every now and then. I didn't really understand what it was. I'll do a whole other video on the disassociation and how that started. So we were living in this accommodation. I was going to high school, doing my GCSEs. Dad had mental health problems. We didn't know if the police were going to come and evict us and send us to Pakistan, basically. There was just a lot of uncertainty. There was pressure on me from my dad to get good GCSEs. And I missed my mum. And the only way I saw out was through ending my own life, because I was just done. If you've ever been suicidal, you understand what I say when I say I was done with life. Completely, utterly, 100% done. And I wasn't attempting suicide for attention. I didn't tell anybody about it. I researched it and I found a way that wasn't too bad, and I attempted it. I'll share with you what it was. The first way I attempted suicide was through drinking bleach. And I got the idea from school. In our English class, our teacher was telling us a story about a girl who, I think, tried to commit suicide through drinking bleach, or she was successful, but when she drank bleach it destroyed her inside. And I took that and I went home. I went to the toilet, I opened up the bleach cap, and obviously it's a very strong smell. and I had one sip. I don't know, I think it wasn't that much of a sip, but it was so disgusting, so pungent, so horrible that I couldn't have more of it. And when you are in that state of when you're ready to end your life, your heart rate is going to be up. I was just in a very shocked state, but I didn't vomit, nothing happened. I didn't tell anyone, I didn't tell my dad when he came home. There was none of that. What did happen after a year was I developed eczema in the insides of my elbows and a little bit on my stomach, but that was after a year, and that was it. So that was the first attempt. What I did after that, I think maybe a couple of months after, I overdosed on pills. It was coffee and paracetamol, and it was a lot of paracetamol, and it was a very, very, very strong coffee. And again, nothing happened. I didn't vomit. Obviously your heart is beating really fast because psychologically you know what you've done, and you've had this caffeine with the paracetamol and you're ready to end your life, but nothing happened again. There was no vomiting, there was no nothing. I didn't tell anyone. I was fine. I went to school the next day and carried on as if nothing had happened. So that was the second time. And then I think maybe 6 months after that, we got our indefinite leave to remain. So then from there, we moved to a 2-bedroom flat. And then I think 6 months after that, I redid my GCSEs because the last time I got really poor marks. And this time I'd done, you know, when you do just the GCSE exams, when you go to the college and just do the paperwork. So there was that pressure again to perform really well for my GCSEs. And that pressure was paralyzing. It was enormous. And so I attempted again with medication, with actually this time with my dad's sleeping pills, a lot of them. And the next day I was actually supposed to go and take my GCSE exams, but then I told my dad I'm just not feeling well. Like, I just didn't want to go take them. And obviously the night before I'd taken all these pills and I'm still alive. Like, I attempted it 3 times. Why the F am I still alive? Again, nothing happened. There was no vomiting. There was no side effects that I could feel. And I'd taken a lot of pills. I didn't count. I just took them. So that was the 3rd time that I attempted suicide. Again, nothing happened. I'm still here. The last time I attempted suicide was in 2014. Was it 14? 12? 2014 was the last time I attempted suicide. And after I attempted it the last time, after that, I thought, if my mom hears or if she sees my dead body, how is she gonna react? She's gonna just collapse. She's gonna be in a state of shock, and that feeling, that thinking that way, stopped me from doing it again. And then later on, I went on to do, you know, the self-care and everything I needed to make sure that I never got down to that stage ever again. And now that I'm talking about this, I can feel my dissociation is getting worse. So again, the reason I'm telling you my suicide story is to help you, is to promise you that life does get better, but you have to put in the work. You can't just wait for miracles. Miracles do happen, but you have to go first. This is a saying in Islam, this is a saying in spirituality, you go first and then the universe responds. In Islam, Allah is waiting for you to change your condition before He comes and changes yours. And this is something I came to understand and listen to and believe quite later on in life, but it made sense why my condition wasn't changing, because I hadn't changed anything about myself. I hadn't introduced boundaries or self-care or done any of the inner work to get out of that depressive, suicidal state. So again, the reason I'm making this video is to tell you there is light at the end of the tunnel. You have to make a conscious decision to change your life around. Nobody can do it for you. I can give you all the tips and tricks, but unless you decide to change your life around, to put in the work, to process those emotions, your life will not get better. Remember, whatever you focus on grows. If you're focusing on the lack and how bad your life is, your life will get worse. I promise you, that's just the way how it works. So some things that have helped me to never get to that stage, is to never get to that, down that rabbit hole, is to always be aware of what my emotions are, to be aware of what am I thinking, what are my impulses, why am I thinking like this, practicing the self-compassion, having boundaries. My self-care includes things like face masks, going to the gym, dancing, doing things that enrich my life, doing things that other people might think are selfish, but they're necessary for my sanity and my peace of mind. If there's one thing that you take away from this video, I want you to take away that your sanity, your peace of mind, your happiness has to come before everything else and everybody else. I know that's a very selfish saying, and in the beginning, when you practice self-care and boundaries and paying any attention to yourself, you will probably experience guilt and shame. That's what I experienced anyway. The first time I introduced self-care, boundaries, or spending any money on myself, there was guilt and there was shame. And the reason why there was guilt and shame is because we've been programmed to put others before us. We've been programmed to make sure others are taken care of. We've been programmed to always smile, to never cry, to always say yes. That's why. So I am here to remind you to put yourself first. Be selfish. I'm giving you permission, me and Teddy are giving you permission to put yourself first, because you're worth it, because you are here with a purpose. You've just forgotten it, and I'm here to remind you. And I promise every time you watch my videos, I'm going to remind you of your purpose. I'm going to remind you that you are worthy and you are deserving of having everything you ever wanted and more. 10 times more, 1,000 times more. You just have to decide. It may seem like a really cocky thing to say, that you just have to decide, but every single thing you do is a decision. When it's time to work out, do you decide to go work out, or do you decide to stay at home because it's cold, wet, windy, you don't feel like it, can't be bothered? It's a decision. I'm sending you so much love, so much peace, so much strength. If you're suicidal, please reach out to me. You are not alone. Do not attempt it. I am here for you. I'm going to come and kick you up the butt if you attempt it. You can get through this. You will get through this. You've got through this before. You can get through it again. Life does get better. I promise you. I promise you, from the bottom of my heart. From that girl that attempted suicide to the person that I am now, I promise you, I am so happy that I didn't end my life, and I'm so happy that I'm here talking to you from my heart to your heart. So that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, if you watched this long ass video, and let me know what you want to see next. Again, my mission in life is to help empower broken women to process trauma through emotional regulation, to come back to love, life and light through trauma-informed strength training. Process your emotions, process your trauma, because you're worth it and you're worthy and you deserve to have everything that you ever want. In the meantime, stay strong, and I'll see you in another video. Take care.